Okay, here's another example of unbelief, and this is so important. This is scripture, and it says, Then he being Yeshua, came to Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man out to him and begged him to touch him. So he took the blind man by the hand, led him out of the town, and when he had spit on his eyes and put his hands on him, he asked him if he saw anything. And he looked up and said, I see men like trees walking. Then he put his hands on his eyes again and made him look up. And he was restored and saw everyone clearly. Then he sent him away to his house, saying, Neither go into the town nor tell anyone in the town. Why did Yeshua lead him out of the town? Because Bethsaida was a wicked, ungodly town. Yeshua took the man out of the town so he would not be surrounded by so much unbelief. And why do you think the man saw but not clearly the first time? Well, imagine you're blind and some guy comes up to you and says that he can cure your blindness. And to do so, he spits in your eye. I mean, that really instills confidence, right? However, when the man who was previously blind suddenly saw something, anything, his unbelief dropped and he received his full healing the second time that Yeshua prayed for him. Likewise with healings and recovery from other problems in your life. Sometimes the outward manifestation of your healing is invisible right away, but rest assured that when you learn to properly pray for yourself and believe without doubting, you will see God move just like he promises. In a little bit, we're going to discuss why some healings happen immediately and others don't. But first, let's address another issue. Why is it that some people get healed while watching this video? Or they come to one of our large meetings where we teach this. And they get healed, and then 2 weeks later, they're back to where they were. They lost it. When you're here, you learn to pray the way that we're going to teach you, the proper way to pray. And you're going to believe, and you're going to be healed. I can't tell you how many people have been in front of me, and I've taught this information in major groups, and the people just sitting in their chairs are healed. But then when they leave, or you turn off your computer, your pain comes back, and instead of praying properly with the same belief, you let that little guy in the red suit and the pitchfork stick you in the ear. Right back on your shoulder areas. And you choose to believe his lies again. In other words, you fall back into doubt and unbelief. But it usually happens something like this. The phone rings, and you're talking to your friend who asks you, how you feeling? And with your big mouth, you speak unbelief. Your answer to them sounds something like this. I'm taking 3 different pills for the pain, and it's still killing me. I need to get something stronger. I need to get some stronger drugs. Those words, that belief, canceled out your original healing. Remember the science that I talked about in part 1 of epigenetics? It proves that our beliefs become signals that change our brain and body. Therefore, by saying something like, and I used to say this, my father had heart disease, and that's why I have it. And now my son is suffering from it too. That activates the signal that creates matter. It makes it your reality. And here's the big lie that everybody knows, the lie that keeps most people from receiving their healing. Finish this sentence for me. I'll believe it when I see it. Since we've all bought into that lie, let's use it to our advantage. See it in your mind and believe it. Now understand that progressive healings are God's normal way of doing things, not by big miracles. Yes, those happen, but progressive, slow healings are sort of like a scab. Scabs are a great example. When you cut yourself, what happens? You bleed. Then what happens? You clot. Then what happens? You get a scab. But it takes time for the scab to heal. The point is, many healings are progressive. And if we pick the scab, what happens? We bleed again. We clot again. We scab again. And we start the whole process all over again. In other words, while God is doing the healing, Don't pick the scab by complaining and talking negatively. Don't reopen the valve in your mind that speaks the bad stuff back into your life again. Now let's look at two scriptures from the Bible. This is in Mark 5:22 through 24. And behold, one of the rulers of the synagogue came, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, Yeshua, he fell at his feet and begged him, earnestly saying, my little daughter lies at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her that she may be healed, and she will live. Notice, this father declares his faith. He knew that if Yeshua came, he had believed in his heart that if Yeshua came, she would be healed. So Yeshua went with him, and a great multitude followed him and thronged him. Now, along the way to Jairus' home, the story is interrupted. Yeshua was surrounded by throngs of people, and among them was this woman. Now, a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things from many physicians. She had spent all that she had, it was no better, but rather grew worse. When she heard about Yeshua, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment, for she said, if only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well. Again, she declared her faith. And immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. And Yeshua said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. Did you see Yeshua even say a prayer for her? No, he didn't do anything, according to what you could see. She believed, and she didn't doubt, and her faith alone, her belief in her faith, brought on her own healing. Now the story continues back to the little girl. While he was still speaking, someone came saying to him, your daughter is dead. Do not trouble the teacher. But when Yeshua heard it, he answered him, saying, do not be afraid, only believe, and she will be made well. When he got to the house, he permitted no one to go in except Peter, James, and John, and of course the parents of the girl. Now all wept and mourned for her. But he said, do not weep. She is not dead, but sleeping. And they ridiculed him, knowing she was dead. But he put them all outside, took the little girl by the hand, and called and said, little girl, arise. Then her spirit returned, and she arose immediately. And he commanded that she be given something to eat. Why do you think Yeshua put all those people that were ridiculing him out of the house? Because they were in unbelief. I'll see you in part 4.